All right, it's on air.
There we are. We are live on air. Okay,
Yep.
well, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? The first,
Mhm.
the first podcast of myself, Tyler Vanderhooven, and my buddy Jordan Whalen. Today we are going to be discussing things related to design, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
We had a very hard time trying to decide
sure.
what we were going to talk about.
Uh-huh.
Yes, but we are both designers. I'm actually my history is in professional photography, fine art photography, and then somehow Jordan dragged me into this mess, and so here I am.
Not exactly kicking and
I started a
screaming.
company called Tiny Anvil, I don't know, 3 months ago, and have been working and doing freelance type stuff ever since. And Jordan, you have a job working at a company.
Yeah, I work at an
And then
agency.
you also
I'm a
do.
full-time designer. Primarily, I do primarily. I
I
refer
don't.
to myself as a designer. I do some development work, but design is definitely where my interest lies. Just really develop in order to build the stuff that I make. I'm sure I'm not the only person who does
I
that.
don't actually think I have ever heard the story of how you got into that design.
Got
Like I just
into
remember you
design?
like it was, I don't know, 20 years ago. We met at like a
More or less.
Christmas party or something.
Yeah.
I was a
I
farmer,
guess,
and
as far
you
as backstory is
were an
concerned, I guess there was a what?
you were like an 8-bit Paint
Oh,
Windows user at
yeah,
the
man.
time.
Where it's at. No, I guess around the time I turned 16, instead of getting a car, I bought a Mac, and that was a good decision, I feel. Didn't really have anywhere to drive to, but I had plenty of stuff I could do with the internet and a computer that was better than what I had at the time. So with that, I got a copy of the Adobe Suite, Creative Suite. It was CS4, I believe, at the time, or CS5. I think I got CS4, and then I got the upgrade to
It was
CS5.
CS4, and then I got
Close amount
upgraded
of
to
time.
CS.
Yeah, yep. So right around the tail end of CS4. And I
That's
did
how
was
we started too.
I got that because I started becoming interested in web design and development and stuff as a result of a family friend of mine and my family's was starting to teach his kids PHP, and I joined in via webcam, kind of like this, and I kind of picked up some basic stuff, and I just started thinking about that. I'd always wanted to be involved with technology one way or another, but I had never really decided a certain career path, whether that be design, development, and computer engineering or anything like that. Never really picked a certain one, so I started playing around with web development, and it just seemed like a natural evolution to start playing with the design side, and I found that completely fascinating. Just really digging into the meat of like how people interact with things, the psychology behind it, what they're thinking when they see a page, and what they're going to want to do, as well as what they're most likely to do, and trying to make sure that that matches up. Both their expectations match up with what you're creating as an interface. That stuff still gets me really excited, obviously. And that's definitely what keeps me interested and keeps me doing it. So yeah, I love design, and I kind of found that out via trying out development first. And yeah, so that's more or less kind of how I got into it and why I'm still doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm
you
just
were just
like
kind
out
of
of curiosity.
yeah.
Mine was a failure. The only reason I do design is because I failed at photography. And I love photography so much that I was like, it had to be done my way, and I wasn't going to do wedding photography.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to make money at it. And so I failed doing photography, and so I'm like, well, that didn't work out. I still love photography, so what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That was, that was probably a year and a half year ago, that I really started realizing that was just going south. Um, and so along with a lot of that was trying, like I felt like a lot of my failure in photography was because of things like Smug Mug and other companies that kind of just press out your theme
Mm-hmm.
instead of
You just cut out for me.
like my interface. The website was kind of what was failing.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
You cut out there for just a second, and then as soon as I said something, it kicked back in.
Oh, Well, there you go. I think, well, yeah, the problem is that we got video on your side and audio on my side, so we'll just have to sync it up later.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that works.
Hold on. Yeah, let's have to
So,
clap so we can match up our, like, cut.
yeah. Yeah, it'd be kind of nice if there was some way for it to record both, but just obviously everybody that's watching this, if you're watching this, you know it's been recorded by Google Plus. So we'll see how this works. Maybe try out some other stuff next time. If this doesn't work out too well, we can always go to FaceTime and we'll probably get higher quality video and audio off of that. But this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it sucks that the photography didn't work out for you. You went on some awesome trips and got some incredible photos, but that just seems like such a like design and development. There's a lot. The amount of, I mean, at least right now, that's booming. Like the demand for that is just ever increasing. Not that photography, it's not the same. It seems like you have to jump a lot more walls and jump through a lot more hoops to be able to get to a point where you can sustain yourself off of it. You have to get lucky with some sort of contest or somebody noticing a certain photo of yours. Whereas design and development, you've done this a lot more than I have. You just can kind of make your stuff and people will use it because it doesn't cost them anything other than a little bit of time. Whereas to make money,
it's an interesting.
You really have to sell prints or downloads or whatever.
Yeah, and it depends on what kind of photography it is. Like if I wanted to get into wedding photography, I wouldn't have any trouble. I hate that. It's not who I am, and I just don't enjoy it at all. Whereas design, and it's really a difference of industry. I used to kind of think that it was just photography was older, and so there were more photographers, and so it was just harder because there were so many. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's more that there's a barrier to entry in design. Even though you can kind of become a designer, it's not that you can go out and buy something and suddenly you're as good a designer as anybody else, which is very much what it is. Anybody can go out and buy a camera, and even though that doesn't make you a great photographer, it's really not that hard. You have an eye, and so there's technical aspects of it, but the barrier to entry for design is much harder, which culls the herd, so to speak, and which has made my work in design quite successful as far as the design aspect of it is because I have a background in photography and I have that eye. A lot of my designs, a lot of people appreciate that because I have that going in, rather than trying to figure something out or learn something that really you have to have coming from photography or develop. Yeah, which is something that I'm learning a lot more now. Is that like CSS and HTML and stuff like that really isn't. I mean, somebody has to do it, but that's not the creative side. That's not really like what I enjoy a lot. Even though, like, if you started getting into JavaScript and some more of the interactions and stuff, where you have to be somebody, like you have to have done a lot of stuff and know a lot of things for some of those interactions to work. A lot of the CSS and HTML is like it's the same for every project, which is why you have things like mix-ins and variables and stuff. Because there's not a lot of talent involved. It's just we got to figure out the fastest way that we can get the same thing done, so that we can get to the interactions and the layout and the actual designed pieces.
Yep, no,
which is definitely what I enjoy a lot more.
Yeah, no, that's I'm on the same page. Like you've delved into a little bit deeper into the programming, the interactions and stuff than I have. So you probably are able to get a little bit more thorough with those than I can currently. But I absolutely adore that stuff, and I'm planning on starting to get into Swift. That might be something we could start talking about. Maybe you do a little bit on some sort of JavaScript thing on a weekly or bi-weekly, however often we do this basis, and I could talk a little bit about Swift. Yeah. Probably give us both a little more motivation to dig into some cool stuff. Because I'm looking through the Mengto's designco.io. He's got a weekly roundup of design resources, and he always adds some stuff about Sketch, some stuff about Xcode and Swift. He's got a really good article on Xcode 6, which is the main thing I was waiting on. So I'm going to start digging into those resources and see if I am even remotely able to learn what I need to learn right now to be able to do our secret app that we're not telling anybody about just yet. Unless you want to make that public knowledge, I don't know.
It's just
yeah. Okay.
Not now. Not until we know we can make it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's interesting again, kind of like that divider line between kind of brainless code and code that's actually like you have to know something. You have to be creative to be able to actually make it do something. And I really didn't think you would find that in development, which is why I hated development so much in PHP and more server-side JavaScript. I really didn't want to get into that because I felt like it was a lot of that brainless work. But now that I've started actually getting into it, it's like in the couple of the plugins that I built, it's really, really cool because you can take a problem that's a real issue, and then you can start to address it with code rather than just laying out a design. You actually have to solve a problem with a programming language, which is nothing I really hadn't thought of that before.
Yeah, no, that's. Yep. Yeah, you're getting more into the thick of it than I am currently. But I wish I had more projects where I could be paid to learn because that'd be a lot of fun. But I'm not complaining too much because I do love design work. So as long as I can do more of that, I'm happy.
Yeah. Yep. And of course, we have to fight that age-old question of the designers will become extinct if they don't know how to code. Which I actually think some of that's going to get flipped around on programmers, because now that Swift is so similar to JavaScript, at least in the way it's organized in the syntax, I think developers are going to have to start learning how to design, because that line between kind of front-end code and your scripting code versus your programming code, it's becoming, the programming is looking a lot more like front-end. Yeah. It's really funny because your mouth is moving, but you're not even talking.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, is it not making sound, or am I just like?
It's just I can't watch the video because the synchronization is so off.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I mean, it's on for me. I can see myself being somewhat synced, but for you, it's way off. But it looked like when I was
looking at my internet is horrible.
Yeah, I was looking at our test video. It was pretty accurate. So it's probably not recording this. It's recording both of our videos and just kind of shoving them together.
Well, I assume it's recording. Well, yeah, I don't know. No idea. I'm sure we're not having a huge audience, though. If we did have one, we never will again. But that is A-okay.
Yeah. Which topic did you want to talk about? We never really picked a topic for sure, did we? Was it the getting started?
Not particularly. Getting started. That was one of them. I don't know how many. It doesn't take that long to cover some of these.
Yeah, I mean, we both kind of talked about how we got started. Yeah.
Yep.
So
you get started by just doing stuff, man.
Let's
just pick up a. Well, I guess you can't really pick up a code editor, but open a code editor and start coding. Figure. But I just wrote it as a text document and then just wrapped it in tags. I mean, if you've got Google, you can figure out anything you need to. Just break stuff and then fix it slowly, one piece at a time. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, pretty much for development and web specific development and some design. That's definitely the best way to do it. You just kind of got to get your hands dirty until what you're working on makes sense. I mean,
don't design, just feel.
I'm a little bit more, I think, formulaic than you are with my design process. But
it was like that tiny handle. It's all based on a 9 grid. Everything's multiplied by 9, and that came up with numbers like 27, which is not an even number, which bothered the heck out of me.
Yeah.
No, it has to be an even number.
9's not an even number. We could have done a base 8 grid. But I'd recommend if anybody ever watches this for some reason that's just getting started with design, I'd recommend Robin Williams' Design for Non-Designers. It's an old book with really weird examples that are going to look super dated at this point. It looked dated when I read it 6 years ago, but the principles are still extremely sound, and it's a great introduction if you're either a designer already and you're just trying to get really acquainted with just the foundational principles of any good design. The main concept of the book starts off with is that you need to know the rules before you can break them or recognize them when they're being in use. It's called the Joshua Tree Principle, is the way that Robin defines it. I don't know if it's entirely possible you've read that out of context of the book because that article has been kind of spread around as its own entity. But the basic concept is until you know what something's called, you're not going to be able to recognize it or manipulate it or have any power over it. But as soon as you're able to, you know what something's called, you're going to have a certain grasp of it and be able to manipulate it in certain ways. So with design, if you can learn the basic principles of what makes a design good or bad, whether that's with visual, like graphic design, or if it's interface design, as soon as you know all the principles, you know when you're supposed to break those rules or when you can and have freedom to make something better, or when you just need to follow those basic concepts to make something just non-arbitrarily sound. It's going to work for as many people as possible. So Robin Williams, non-design for design for non-designers, that's what it is. Very, very good.
Yep.
I think I sent that one to you, a PDF or any of the book. I don't remember how it worked out.
That was back in the days when I didn't read.
Yeah,
read it now.
back when you like books or no. Unless you can send me a picture book, I'm not going to read it. I would have to send you comic books about design.
Send me this in a gradient. Show me a picture that sums that up. No, I mean, I think it's the same thing for me. As I didn't read a whole lot of books about design, but I was a photographer, and so it was the exact same concept. I watched ridiculous amount of screencasts, but it was all like related to photography, and so like you got the rule of thirds, and you've got color principles, and different exposures, and zoom levels, and aperture, and all of these aspects, and all these rules, these constants that don't change in photography, and then you learn how to work around those to express yourself. You've got a set of tools that don't change, but you use those tools to create different sorts of things that are unique to you. And so through photography, that's where I learned all of my design principles. Is you need to know the rules, you need to understand your tools, you need to know the limits so that you can build something that expresses yourself. But at the same time, at the end of the day, when it comes between you and me, you are much better at building something that's right because it is right rather than because it feels right. And that's something I wish I had more of. I'd build something because like, wow, this really feels good. But if I come to a problem and I don't really know what's going on, I can't like pinpoint what needs to happen like mathematically. What's wrong with this picture? And that's something I feel like you have a lot better handle on, especially like typography and stuff like that. You just understand it because you spent so much time reading and understanding the tools and the rules. Whereas I am much more aesthetic, so I'll take a look at it and I'll understand from a visual standpoint, this doesn't look good, which is why I think I'm better at colors and matching up spacing and things like that.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that much. Yeah, I tend to like I've heard probably way too many books on typography, but the Robert Binghurst one on elements of typographic style, and then all the Doyle Young books, just freaking amazing. But that's probably at least
freaking out like you spent like.
I spent like $150 the Young books.
Yes, you
those
did.
Were worth it though.
You're like, oh, look at these books, they're amazing. I'm like, they're books.
And you're like,
that's
as far as I can go. It's a book. It's a book, okay? That's my opinion of it. It's
nice
a book.
Beautiful book. It could be book. Well, no, that would be stupid.
Yeah, they're really good.
It's a book. They were beautiful. I mean, the typography inside them was gorgeous.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff.
I didn't learn anything.
But yeah, and I learned a lot from those.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so type is.
But anytime I've got a typography question, they always go straight to you, and like within 5 minutes you've got matching typography, and hey, this one's actually in Typekit too, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to be an expert on that stuff. I've had both of the guys I work with now are doing that, even on freelance projects. They're coming to me with like asking for type tips. So I'm more than happy to do that. I'll happily take that. I'll wear that hat.
You'll wear that hat. I'm a professional typographist.
Wonder what hat you wear as a typographer. I can't think of one that would be applicable to the job. It's just got like a lot of like, it's like just covered.
I feel like it would be
protectors. It's just a bunch of pockets with pen protectors. So you just
ampersand as the buckle.
Right,
it's like boxers. It's like boxers have those giant belt buckles that are like, what do you like? Can you even bend over with that thing? Yours would just be a giant.
You dislocate your entire pelvis if you try to bend over. Because the belt buckle is just huge.
You would.
But no, that makes sense because you got the and sign right there, so it's like shirt and pants.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. People would get it.
They would. They'd be like, "Oh my goodness, you're wearing an outfit." There wouldn't be this confusion of why are you wearing these two clothing pieces? It's just a mismatched thing. They're not
I need to
connected.
explain that I'm wearing shirt and pants. I'm wearing both. Shirt and pant. Why do they call it pants?
Yeah, I've never understood that honestly. Why? Like,
They
was there
call
ever
a
a
pant
time?
leg,
Was there ever a
but
time
they
when
don't
somebody
call it
was wearing
pant.
one pant, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh my goodness, guys, we can use two of these."
You need to be wearing.
Why is it a pair? Exactly. Like, why is it a
And
pair?
then
You
they're
never
like,
see a
oh,
single
whoa, no, it's
pant.
pants.
Yeah, maybe that's why we need the ampersand belt, because we're just wearing a
Yeah,
pant and a shirt. There's just one leg, and then there's nothing on the other side.
that's right.
You would need an
Then
ampersand belt for that.
I feel like you're starting to lose the typography. You're starting to become more of an icon of fashion.
Yeah, you're just, you have become art. Can't
Typography
even.
and fashion
That's
often make
so
about as
weird.
much sense.
You cut out, and then I say something, it cuts you back in. It's like it's waiting for to pick.
That's
It's
weird.
trying to pick me up to see if I'm talking or something. I don't know.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
It's like you have to talk to hear me, and then I instantly interrupt you. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's right on Google. So, what do you think of the material design stuff? We never really discussed that.
Um, I don't know. I wasn't psyched about it. I mean, it seems like it's a Google thing to do, and I feel like they may be riding a bandwagon, sort of like trying to make
Okay.
waves rather than actually doing anything significant. I'll be curious to see what they actually come up with it and if it actually means
Hmm.
anything beyond just coming up with a new term because they're Google.
Right. I mean, the name doesn't really seem to mean much. It's just like a hybrid between flat and skeuomorphic design. It's
Yeah.
all your elements are flat, but they move and react in a skeuomorphic way. So there's like bending and snapping and layers lifting up over each other. But it's all it's 2D elements within a 3D sphere.
Hmm.
It's like you have an inch of room, because I was reading through the design principles and they kind of break down some cool concepts. But one of the things they said is one of the examples they were giving is if you had a card, right?
Yeah.
One thing you would used to see back in like 2007 when the first iPhone came out is you would see apps where there'd be a card and you tap it and it would flip over. But they're saying one of the things they say is there's not room for the card to flip in a screen because
Yeah.
it's 2 dimensions. But then they do things like where an element will lift out, move up, and then drop back down, and the elements will shift down. So I don't really see how that's not any doesn't require any more room than a card flipping. So I think there might be some inconsistencies, but that's probably bound to happen whenever you're trying to completely redefine the design language of the world's most popular operating system. So I don't blame them for trying. I'm more than happy for them to try to push something forward, because ever since Matias Duarte came over from Palm, the dude's been doing awesome work, but it just hasn't been getting picked up by a lot of developers and designers on Android, except for maybe the biggest of companies, because they don't care. So I would love to see Google really start pushing these principles and really trying to make them necessities if you want to get your app featured or even anywhere promoted. I would love to see that. I know they're all about open and like open source and just free everything. You can change whatever you want. And that's awesome. But if they want to curate high quality software, there has to be some sort of benefit to them to companies following their design principles. I think some of the principles
Yeah.
could be really cool in effect. So I'd love to see some once Facebook gets their material design app out, and Twitter and those other companies, if they actually really try to embrace the design language, there could be some awesome stuff that's only on Android. But what I fear is it's probably going to be slight little tweaks. It's just like when Apple came out with the with iOS 7. Um, the first wave of apps just got rid of they just got rid of the gradients and shadows, and they called it a flat design, and that's doesn't really do anything. Now
Yeah.
you're getting more layers. You're getting some what's the term? You're getting some lower opacity layering, so you've got some like cool different visuals. Like, their whole concept was trying to make it feel more digital, but also a little bit more alive, where you've got these transitions and shifts. You're always able to see where kind of it's going and coming from, which I think is a lot what Google's trying to do. I don't know how effective their particular approach is going to be. Just because they don't prioritize design nearly as much as Apple does. They're trying to move it way higher up, and it's definitely much bigger at Google than it ever has been. But
Yeah, and I
I
think
just,
it all comes down to the developers, right? I mean, the people that are actually
right,
building the applications. And it's not so much that it has to work like it's cool or it's easy to do. It has to make budget sense. It has to be, you have to be able to come to your team who's building this application and say, as a designer, this is going to make the company more money to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of designers are missing, is they're just getting miffed that nobody cares about design, but they're not really making any effort to say this is going to be better for the budget.
Right.
And it's too bad that it's that way, that we don't all have infinite budgets and infinite amount of time that we can just say let's all design more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something I've really noticed working with other people and other teams, is that what matters is that we have a product that people can use, and whether or not it's beautiful, if I can't give a good reason why a more beautiful and more functional product isn't going to make them more money at the end of the day, then I really have no business spending more money. Because it does. It costs more money to spend more time on design and more time on interactions and animations, things like that. And if I can't at the end of the day say this is going to make you more money, if I don't have a game plan for that, then I really have no business pushing it.
Right. If you can't justify it, you can't really explain why it's better or better for the company or better for the project.
Which I think it is.
Or just,
but I
just
think
flat out
everybody
better.
needs to have that worked out in their mind. Like, okay, what is your game plan? When the company meets and we're going to decide what we spend our money on, you don't just get upset that the company doesn't care about design. What's your game plan? What are you going to put forward as far as numbers and graphs and history? And I mean, you don't have to look far to see that good design makes more money, but you need to be able to present that to your team. And say, well, look through the patterns of companies around us, the companies that really care about design, something that's functional. Which companies are succeeding? Which companies are on the rise, and which ones are not? You don't have to look very far, you don't have to look hard. But at the same time, have those things out there. Let people see those things, because otherwise, nobody's ever going to care about design if designers don't care enough to introduce that to people who are not designers. We'll keep pushing ads
until they can explain why they should care.
Heaven forbid. And that's something I've had to fight against a lot. Is they say, well, we need to put in more ads because that'll make the company more money, and everybody groans, but that is what's making a lot of companies a lot of money. And so I need to be able to say, well, what is actually, are ads going to make us more money? Are they, or is design going to make us more money? And we need to be able to figure those things, hash those things out, have a plan.
If we design our ads and just combine the two.
That's one of the things I brought was let's make ads content. I mean, everything's an ad. Everything is an ad. There's just some that are interruptions. Most the ads that we click on are the ones that are relevant to us, the ones we asked for. And that's things like blog posts. That's things like tweets that we click on. Those ads are things that we see, and there's something that interests us that we click on. The ads that we typically think of when we think of ads are the interruptions that we close instantly, that we're trying to get out of our way, that we're installing plugins to block. Those are ads that are done incorrectly, but at the end of the day, everything that you're trying to sell, you're selling via ad. It's just you're turning your ad into content.
I mean, in a sense, an ad doesn't necessarily have to be, like you're saying, an image or a video or a
It shouldn't be an interruption.
There are specific constrictions around which, they shouldn't be interruptions, but all an ad really is it's some sort of bait to get you interested or reading about or somehow get your attention shifted from whatever you're currently looking at into something else. So if you can make ads content so it's not this dramatic stop of I'm reading this article and all of a sudden this video takes over my display, where I'm reading this article and there's all of a sudden some sort of tangentially related content that is very interesting to me because I'm on this page reading this article and it's related. I think that's probably the power of Google and why they're going to just rule the internet for the next 50 years. Because that's their entire business strategy is we take the content, we match things against it, and we know what you're interested in because you have an account with us and it keeps track of kind of the way you interact with this stuff. Like their business model is absolutely brilliant. And the fact that they're trying to expand it out to cars and trains and TV and just everything, like right on. You're right. I mean, that's what Google's trying to do, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's what they've always been trying to do. And I think it's hard, right? Because you're taking pieces of content that are not related and you're trying to say, how are these related so that I can make sure I'm delivering content that didn't originate on your website. How can I deliver that in a meaningful way? And that's really hard to do. And I think a lot of that, though, is problems with developers and designers just saying, well, here's a block, just plug in ads, instead of designing ads and being intentional about your ads, because at the end of the day, we need to be on the same page. Like, what are we actually trying to accomplish rather than me just saying I hate ads. Ads suck, and we need to only design my way and the things I like. Let's think about the company. What's going to make this company successful? Let's design for that rather than just design a portfolio piece. Let's design to make this company successful.
Right.
Because otherwise, everybody's just trying to. Everybody's just fighting for their own ego, their own portfolio piece, and that's what sinks all these companies, because we're not really thinking about the business. We're thinking about ourselves. And when you can take ads, when you can take content and turn it into an ad, when you can actually say, here's our value. I spend money on stuff. Like, we all spend money on stuff, but we need to analyze, like, what do we spend money on, and why do we spend that money? What do we spend it? What kind of triggers those transitions between not being interested to being interested to signing up to purchasing these things, and going through all of those steps and saying, is our content valuable, and how do we get that content to the point where someone has purchased, someone has spent money on it?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying. I don't know too much.
I think designers, like interface designers, need to care about that stuff a lot more than they do. I feel like most of them are just mad that nobody cares about them.
Yes, that's why you see 50
I think you
articles.
Need to step out of
week.
Those little spheres of, nobody does care because you're not making us money. How about you try and make us money first?
And that's why you see 50 articles every week about how somebody's complaining that nobody on Dribble actually criticizes or critiques or likes any of their posts, because they just give them a nice work, bro, and they're supposed to be satisfied with that, and it makes them sad because they can't get any actual interactions on Dribble.
Yeah.
Which I'm still annoyed that people are treating it like it's some sort of designer collective where you're supposed to get a bunch of free work and feedback from other people that are more talented than you, when all it's presented as is show and tell for designers. I don't know if you or anybody who might listen to this was ever in kindergarten, but show and tell is basically you bring a thing you're proud of, you show it to people, and you answer questions about it at most. You don't bring a half-finished essay and then have them help you finish off the essay for free at like some sort of like university like arena where there's all these amazing students that are just doing amazing work, and they're just going to work on your stuff for free and pay you a whole bunch of attention because you obviously deserve it. But instead, show and tell is just, here's a thing, I like this thing, got any questions about the thing? And then if you're not completely done with the thing, you can go, hey, I really like my dog, but I'm thinking about getting another one. Do you guys have any recommendations on stuff that could like go with this? And if they give you answers, that's awesome. You don't deserve them. Nobody owes them to you, but that's awesome if that's how it works out. So, man, that just annoys me so much. I saw like 3 different links on Designer News for like Chrome extensions that hide Dribble comments that aren't useful. I just wanted to slap everybody. This is just so dumb. It's like somebody took time out of their way or out of their day to congratulate you on good work, and you're annoyed at that.
Yeah.
What are you going for? What's the goal? You complain when people don't give you feedback, and then when they give you feedback that's just good work, I like what you did, you're pissed off. Like, I don't understand. There's some sort of mental disconnect there that these people are not able to wrap their minds around.
Yeah. I don't understand it. And I think
that my Medium post.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's never going to end because there's always more. But I think that was another thing that I was thinking about this weekend, about the significance of design. I think you were talking about that a couple of weeks ago with just kind of the nature of it is not like you build something and it's awesome and it's going to be remembered forever. Like we're not. My brother works. He's freelance, or he's what do you call it when somebody comes home from college and then goes and works somewhere for the summer?
Internship?
Yes, he is interning at a company in Ohio that builds things that go to space. They also do things that intercept nuclear missiles that are being shot at the United States. And he's like worked on these pieces, and so it just kind of got me thinking, like, wow, like none of my websites are ever going to do anything like that. In fact, whatever I build today is going to need to be rebuilt probably in 6 months. And just like the insignificance of our profession, and a lot of professions, but especially ours, just because so many people think it's the industry, and I think a lot of that's probably just because the internet, we are all able to be vocal about everything. we just think it's so important and we deserve all this stuff and we're the cutting edge of technology. When at the end of the day, I think we're just a luxury. The internet's a luxury, and I think a lot of it is very good, and it has advanced a lot of society. But people can function without the internet.
Well, I mean, I think it's a luxury too, but I think if you break it down and just, is this convenient? Is this something that's convenient that I could survive without? I mean, technically, running water is a luxury by that definition. I'm not saying the internet's on the same level as running water, but maybe clean roadways, well-done infrastructure. I mean, at this point in my mind, it's as key as important as good roads. I mean, there's a ton of business that's not even possible without the internet. So I wouldn't say necessarily.
I think it's a mark of first world countries.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I do think it's a luxury.
I think it's an essential luxury. I think it's a luxury that, if at all possible, if there's any way you can have it, you absolutely do need it. But you can survive without it. Same thing goes for running water and electricity, though. Like, I would put that on the same level. I don't view the internet as that much different.
Sure, absolutely.
It just happens to have a bunch of pictures of cats and be extremely entertaining, unlike water and electricity. So that doesn't make it any less of a necessity to me, at least for me, for my livelihood. I can't do work or get money or do anything. Like, I can go places, but I can't do anything because I don't have money for them.
Yeah, but I think it's real important that we keep in perspective that our jobs are really not that significant.
Well, yeah, I think people get this.
But there are people doing things that are really cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely this sense of what's the term? It's when you're all like high on your own high horse. There's a pretentiousness that comes along with a lot of these this design work when you're doing really cool, high-end, well-paying projects that is not fitting in the job. Like, you're designing things that people can interact with, and it might be affecting 1 million people. You might do an awesome job at that, but all you did was make it easier for people to get access to cat pictures. Like, at the end of the day, I'm with you on that. You're completely non-essential in this equation. The fact that they could have hired somebody else to do a okay job at making cat pictures accessible, yeah, that would suck comparatively, but it's not this like mind-blowing. You're not saving the world. You can't save the world with good design. You can change the world for sure. I mean, I think whether some people would probably argue with me about me crediting this to Steve Jobs, but he definitely had an eye for design, placed it like above all other aspects within his products that he was in charge of, and that resulted in him definitely changing the world and pushing it in a different direction. So you can change the world, but I don't think you can really save the world with design. I mean, maybe there's probably some designer out there working for working for Bill Gates on his crusade to spend all of his money on curing malaria. And that might be doing some awesome work that without which the effort would be way less successful or something. Like, it's entirely possible. But you're right. The comparison from like a doctor to a designer they're not really equals morally, or like how drastically they affect people's lives.
Well, I think you do have to define what design is. I mean, you've got interactive sort of interaction design, but I mean, at the end of the day, everything's designed. There's some level of intention that goes into it.
Intentional or non-intentional.
But when I'm speaking of like interactive design and writing code and building websites, it's just really important for me to keep in perspective that the job's really not that significant. It's fun and I enjoy it, but I don't need to tell everyone with this sort of air of I am a website designer. I think a lot of it also comes from just nobody knows what the heck you're doing. Like, it's still a pretty small niche of people that you talk about.
I do the computer voodoo magic.
And they're like, what? I don't understand. What is the internet? And I think a lot of that kind of comes back around to being like, well, I'm like a spy and nobody understands what I do. And they get upset that you didn't fix Google or that you changed Facebook. I'm like, I didn't do that. That was not me.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I'm over here working on a website about water. I did not change your Facebook. It's not my fault that the link is in a different spot and you're so confused and angry now.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
I mean, that's something I just been thinking about. I think for a lot of people,
the significance of the web industry.
It's just that the significance of the industry that the world can't do without us. But I'd be curious. I mean, unless you continue to move forward in your skill set, the world very quickly will be doing without you. It's like the guys who don't know SAS now. It's like, good luck finding a job.
I think they can still get work. I don't think it's that bad unless their
No, it's
work
that
is
bad,
I am
man.
a SAS
It depends.
engineer and I don't know how to SAS. Like I was fine for a while. I was behind the curve a little bit. I waited until about 6 months ago to start digging into SAS, and I was doing just fine. Like I was surviving. I was getting by. I wasn't as fast, but my websites still worked.
My
And
website still
I
works. Nope.
didn't
If you don't know SAS, you're
die.
broken. And now
My
it's
hands look
like
huge. I
it's
don't. I think
it's
it's the scale thing. I don't know.
well, yeah, and it depends on. I mean, it depends on a lot of things, like what you want to be working on. But if you don't keep up, you're going to get toasted.
Oh yeah, I'm not
I
not
mean, that's
saying
that's all the developers
you're
that I
better
work with
off.
now that only know PHP. It's like they don't get any work. It's really hard for them to find work because
Yeah.
and the work. I think even beyond that, though, it's the work that they do is all maintenance work and it's old work. So if it's they get hired for projects that are cheap, that are just really kind of run of the mill, one-off sites, or it's maintenance. And that's not the kind of projects I want to be working on because those are the projects that are going to be dead because those are businesses that are going to be dead because they're not
Ah.
continuing to move forward.
Mhm.
And so if you don't keep out on that curve and continue to learn, I think you're toast.
I'm not fighting you on that. I just meant with the SAS example specifically. I had to give you a hard time
No,
about
SAS, you don't know
because
SAS, you're toast. Or at least some sort
uh,
of CSS preprocessor.
like what else?
It
Less?
depends. Like,
Like
yeah,
really? Really?
SAS,
Like the?
there's SAS, there's Stylus, there's less. It's all of them, man.
I
But
mean,
I think SAS is
I'm with you.
better
It saves some time, but I
than
don't think it's
saves
an
some time.
absolute necessity.
Yep. Well, it depends on what you're doing too. If you're just a designer and you've been hired to be the sketch person, then you don't need to know SAS. But if you're going to be a front end guy, if you don't know SAS, good luck finding a job you enjoy.
Oh, you know, I'm with you on that. Like if it's a job requirement, like I said, if you're like a SAS engineer and you only know CSS, like you are screwed. You're not getting work. But if you're a front end guy, if the project's just JavaScript, you might be able to get by. But if it's just a general front end skill set, you definitely want to have SAS at this point, and that's probably not going to be relevant in 2 years because less will have all of a sudden become amazing or something else. So you definitely need to be constantly educating, constantly reading, constantly absorbing everything you possibly can. Like it's the old the thing Steve Ballmer always got made fun of that sharks either move forward or they die. Like they have to be in motion to stay alive. That's what if you want to thrive, I would say not stay alive, but if you want to thrive in this industry specifically, or probably any tech-related industry at this point, you need to be constantly adapting and shifting and moving forward. There can't be any sort of stagnation, or you're just gonna fall too far behind.
Yeah, and you're going to hate your job because you'll be working on
Yeah,
stuff that
absolutely.
isn't exciting anymore.
Huh?
And I want to be working on stuff that's exciting. And as soon as I stop learning, technology moves forward, and that's what everybody's working on. It's like SVG stuff now. But I think there's a lot of frustration in that because you feel like you always have to like always be learning, and you just feel like you can never get anything done. And I feel like you're probably in the wrong industry if that's the way you feel. Like you need to shift, maybe focus a little more. Like if I felt like I needed to be on top of the latest Ruby release, I would be killing myself because there's so many
Yeah.
programming languages that come out every day and so many new gems and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't care about any of that because that's not what I'm interested in doing. That's not the industry I care about getting a job in. I'm much more into the front end kind of let's build cool websites that do neat things with JavaScript. So I want to keep on top of of JavaScript and front end code and the latest release of you know Node or Meteor or Ionic, different JavaScript platforms that I'm interested in because they're doing really cool things in an industry that I'd like to work in. I'd like to make my
Mhm.
living in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I'm definitely not keeping up with that stuff as much as you are, but I'm trying to get into more the native development. But
Yeah,
with a little bit that I
iOS. I
played
mean,
with
you're all over
Meteor,
that
it
stuff.
was awesome. The stuff that you were showing me that you were able to do in like 1 hour of learning and reading that Meteor JS book was pretty incredible. So I'm definitely excited to see where that could go. If just we can make some cool sort of web app, then make a native app for
Oh,
it,
I'm working
and
on it,
just
my
kind of
friend.
yeah. I mean, is there any certain projects you want to talk about that you're working on?
I don't want to talk about it because then somebody's gonna steal it, man.
Yeah, it's possible. But I mean,
Well,
people post stuff on GitHub every day.
yeah, that's right. I've started work, and it's one of those things with side projects that I got a really good strong start, and then I got stuck somewhere, and now I don't know what the heck to do, and then I got caught up into all the other work that just exploded, and so I haven't had any chance to work on it. But I am working on this image site web application in
Uh-huh.
Meteor JavaScript. I'm kind of learning the rest of Meteor through that, and it's awesome. That platform, that framework is incredible.
Yeah.
Just that real time. I'm working with Amazon S3, where you
Okay.
upload an image through Meteor, and then after it uploads, it instantly shows up. So you've got this kind of way that you'll upload an image, but you'll upload it as part of the sharing process. It's an interesting idea I had for signing up. Like, you don't really sign up. It's a process of signing up for the application. You use the product, and that's how you sign up. That's how you
Okay.
get an account. Is you using the product is how you get an account. So you
I think
browse
I've
through the.
seen
What's that?
some stuff. I think I've seen like some little concepts like that. And it's always like, why doesn't everybody do this? Like, if you want to save what you're working on and you want to save the stuff, then you obviously have to tie it to something. So
Yeah, that's
once you get
exactly
through the
what I'm.
basic setup process, then you have to tie it to an account. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's going to be you sign up as you use it. So basically, you're going to browse through the images. You're going to be like, oh, I like that image. I want to
Mm.
trade an image I've got for it. So you're gonna whatever, submit a trade, and then that'll pop up that window that says, go through your file system, select an image, and then it'll propose the trade. And that's kind of where you start. Really, do you want to save your image so that you can get notifications if this person wants to trade images with you? And so that's going to be the next part of the sign up process. Um, and then you continue to move forward. So you'll get the next piece of the account, which would be going through Stripe to get credit card and customer information. If the trade happens and both parties want to do a trade,
Mhm.
then you start. Well, we need your credit card information because we need to be able to ship this to you. So everything just makes sense as you go along
Right.
that process.
It's
And
all
because
contextual.
Meteor is that kind of data on the wire, there's no like Ajax required. It's all happening. So all that saving and all that database transfer all can happen while you're using the product, rather than having to take a timeout, do a browser refresh so that things can be sent up and pulled back down.
Mhm.
It's all just happening, which is awesome.
How does that work out security-wise? Like, how does that with credit card information and everything else?
There's
Those
Yeah, great
are there's stuff
question.
in place.
Sort of, yeah. So you've got two databases in Meteor, the Mongo database. You've got one that's on your server, your typical, if you had a MySQL database, it would be on your server. But then you've also got this what's called a mini Mongo a database on your server. I'm sorry, on your client. So in,
You just cut out.
to a
And back when I
small
talk. I hate this.
you've
It keeps
subscribed to
doing
a
this
small
thing.
subset a small subset of data. So let's say you've got a little bit of account information, but that's only kind of relative to your client. Then eventually that'll get synced back up with the master server, which has all the information on it. But all of the subscriptions, like, you can say, hey, I only want this small subset of data pulled down, and that's only relevant to like this customer. It's really, really
Okay.
cool. It's super
Makes sense.
fascinating.
That sounds like a neat setup. Um, Maybe at some point, if yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I'm sure I'll probably get into a lot of stuff like that. Probably not the exact same syntax or anything along those lines. But if I'm working on all the Swift stuff, I know there's a local iOS database, and you've got one that's on your server, and you got to import and export and shift and do all that cool stuff. And I'm really excited to really start digging into it, because the deepest I've gotten development-wise has really just been with like PHP functions. They had some JavaScript jQuery stuff for interactions. Not really anything super low level where I'm actually completely creating an interface. And it looks like there's way more Swift stuff than there was 3 weeks ago, so I'm excited.
Yeah, well, because you can do it all with JavaScript, and
Hmm.
I did a bunch of stuff with PHP too, so I just kind of understood how the relationships worked. But now that you can
Hmm.
write it all in JavaScript and it's in real time and you don't have to worry about all that Ajax stuff,
Yeah.
it's it's just so much fun, and it's so easy, and it makes so much sense. It's been awesome, but at the same time, I only have so much time to work on it, and there's still a lot of stuff I don't have a clue how to do. A lot of the it's just that node packaging and methods and connecting different bits of data that come from somewhere else, like S3 or um, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense yet, but it's just a matter of having enough time to break it and then fix it. But
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think it'd be an amazing project if I could get it to work.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you've told me this general concept 3 or 4 times. This is by far the most fleshed out you've had it.
Yeah,
And I've never doubted the potential there. I've just never been super like gung ho about it because as the guy who has zero printed photography and does not own a camera other than my iPhone, I'm obviously not the intended target user. But hey,
right.
maybe the awesome interface will get me into it, and I'll just upload like a Google image. Like I'll just Google something and upload it just so I can have an image to trade, just to try it out.
That's
If you,
so.
if you can make the interface awesome enough to do that, then I think you've got a real project. But
It'll straight link to Google Images. It'll just open up
yeah,
the Google Images. You can just trade those.
that'd be awesome. Just
Yeah,
link to your Flickr account. But no, I
yeah.
mean, I know I don't know how you feel about this, but I would love to get a project like that or something where it really fleshed out, maybe some mock-ups, some wireframes, and then really try a Kickstarter. I think kickstarting something would be fun. Whether that's the right project or a different one down the road would be, I just would love so much
This is
to
the money project, man.
get.
This is
This is
it.
the what?
This is the
I
money
know
project.
this is our Google search engine. You're super convinced of that, and you haven't steered me wrong thus far, so I'm more than happy to work with you on it. I mean, we'll just have to start figuring out actual timelines and stuff. With all the other freelance stuff though going on, I'm sure that's probably taking back seat right now, right? You're at
Yeah,
least
it is
thinking
for
about it.
sure. I mean, I'm gonna. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on other work, and I don't know if I can raise my rates in a couple places and drop my hours, then I'll have free time to work on other stuff. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely. I mean, I like I said, I'm pretty sure this could be the money project, but it's got. The more I get into it, the more it's like there's so much stuff that needs to be done,
But yeah,
especially
I'm,
on the
I'm
side of
sure any
security and
project of this
communicating and
complexity will
what's.
lead to
Yeah,
money.
it's weird because it's like it's a really simple concept, but the stuff that would have to happen in the background
Mhm.
is fairly complex as far as subscriptions and making sure only the right people can see, and that whole sort of slow process of logging someone in. You have to keep track of data, and it's tricky, but I'm excited.
Right.
Like I really feel like it could be a huge thing, and I know people would go nuts over it, just because I'd go nuts over it, and if I go nuts over it, everybody's gonna love it.
Oh, of course, that's how it always works. But that's
Yeah,
actually not a bad way to approach it because it sounds like pretty much every big successful product is normally some guy making something for himself, and then he's just like, oh wait, other people want this. But your thing's more like, oh, I love this so much. Other people are gonna want this so badly, so maybe that won't work. Maybe
I
it
want
will.
it
We'll
to
see.
exist so bad because there's so many photographs that I want to have printed, but I'm not going to spend $300, $400 on. But I've got a
Right.
ton of photography that other people want, but they're not going to spend them. Well, what's the common denominator? It's creativity. That's what costs money. And so
Hmm.
if we can make that a common denominator and trade that and get our images, boy,
Hmm.
I'd go nuts over that. I'd have so
I
much.
mean,
I already
like I
have.
know, I know this.
I probably have 50 pieces of art in my room right now, and it's all mine, and I wish I could get other people's art. I'd gladly trade those pieces for some other people's art.
Like I know you wouldn't probably go for this, but at least to help it appeal to the non DSLR toting members of society, have you thought about like including any sort of
You cut out right as soon as you said the last word. Wait, don't talk anymore. Oh my gosh, it is frozen now. There's no words. There's none words. Are you still there?
I meant to close the tab and I quit the entire program. So that happens. But I was just saying, you thought about any sort of Instagram integration or anything like that? Because there's a lot of people who have paid a lot of stupid money to get Instagram photos printed on dumb stuff. Like, did I ever show you the marshmallow Instagram printing thing?
Only like 18 times. Every time you talk
It
about
was
doing a
so bad.
Kickstarter,
It was
every
so
time you
bad.
talk about doing a Kickstarter, you're like, if they can do it, we can do it.
I think that's the ultimate story. Is like an underdog who
That
is
should be in our pitch.
is
If this
just
can
mentally
happen,
challenged.
we
A
can
mentally
happen.
challenged underdog with 3 legs can win the race. Then man, you and me doing photo trading, we're at least like a scrappy little mutt. Like we don't, maybe not like a full bred golden retriever, but like we're at
Oh,
least
come on,
better than the
you
dog.
got to think higher, man. We have to come at
Better
this.
than the dog with 3 legs and like rabies.
Nah,
That is
this is the money shot.
Instagram marshmallow
No, I
right there.
think I definitely. So the way it's going to work, the kind of the way to keep quality high,
Mhm.
but still encourage everyone to be able to trade and not segregate based on, like, one thing I really hate about um, platforms like 500px and Flickr is that if you take too long to get in board or you're really not that good to start, nobody's ever going to find you. You have to invest so
Okay.
much for anybody to care about your work that you do. Um,
Mhm.
which is, it's, on one side, yeah, that's good, and for a platform like 500px it might work, but for this I don't want that. And so that's why the whole thing is based around requests. Is pretty much you can upload any image you want. It doesn't matter. That's the request you're going to make. You better hope it's good, because I'm not going to trade for an image that's a piece of junk that I don't care about. So that's going to encourage that.
Right.
And if you have a good photograph that you took with your iPhone, heck, I don't care. It's not like I'm printing these on 40 by 30. They're going to be a lot
Right.
smaller. So if it's a nice picture and I feel like I want to trade for it, absolutely. Like, I don't care. Um, but I think that segregation is not coming so much from you were a first adopter and so you get the rewards, or you're famous and
Mhm.
so you get all the kudos. It's that, no, you're a good photographer and so I want your picture. And the
So
investment you
you're trying to
make.
avoid getting the this image hate from the people who are writing all these dumb articles about dribble right now, more or
Yeah,
less.
exactly. Yep. Yeah,
See,
it's sort
they're
of,
not,
it's
they're not
just
giving me critiques. They're not giving me the trade I want.
like what actually makes a good photograph and what actually makes a good photographer. It's their work. It's their heart, like it's their passion for their work. And that shouldn't have to be like I have to include 20 tags and a title and a location and all this metadata. It's like
Right.
my picture. I want to show someone my picture. That's all the data that I need to be showing someone to interest them or not. And I want to build a platform that takes that into consideration. It says, you don't have to
I
upload a
mean,
bunch
have
of
you?
tags and
I'm
junk. You just upload your image.
just out of curiosity, since the way you phrased that brought up an interesting point in my mind. What does Meteor have as far as any sort of way to filter images? Because historically, when the internet gives people a way to broadcast pictures of themselves, there tend to be very specific kinds of pictures that pop up. The chat roulette. I'm thinking, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
definitely.
I'm saying,
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. Yeah, we'd have to look into that. I mean, again, it's based on you can upload, and it's not like Instagram or like 500px where you can upload any image. You're trading images, so it's not like you have
okay,
a library of
right.
images. It's that you see an image
Hmm.
that you like, and then you propose a trade for it, and that only happens between two people. Uh, I'm
Hmm.
thinking what I'm probably going to do is, like, initially, like, you have to find an image, right? So how are you going to find an image? It has to be in a library
Right.
somewhere for you to be able to find it and say I want to trade for that. And so I'm thinking it'll be, if a trade is successful and two people trade for an image, that'll go into a review process where I'll be like, yeah, that's a good image. I'm going to include that in the library for other people to see and propose trades for. Um, but I mean, there's no way to filter if someone wants to upload. There's no way to read an image and say this is not a good image. But because it's only going to be happening between two people initially, you'll be able to block them or spam them or whatever if something comes up. And
Right.
it's not like it's going to be there's not going to be any value in sharing images with just one person. Um, whereas someone like 500px, if you upload something, it could potentially be seen by billions of people. So a lot of that becomes um, less significant, I think, because the volume or the reach is so much less.
Uh-huh.
Just because
Yeah, I mean, you
initially it's
also see
only
that might
between two
be sort of
people.
a fine line to walk. I mean, initially trying to get it going, seeing how interested people are in trading versus having trading as a component of a sort of library of images that they can select from. I mean, maybe you do the dribble thing where you can only upload so many images a month. Somebody can't
Yeah, there's
just
there's
throw up
different ways. I'm
500
gonna I'm gonna. I mean, we'll figure
or
that out once we actually build the product, because those will be a lot of fine lines. Like, if you're a successful,
right.
if you've proven yourself, you get this many uploads a month, or
Oh
or
yeah.
it could
I
be I
mean, the
vet.
other
I
thing,
mean, I can vet people and say, yeah,
this,
I know this person personally. They're very good, and so they can include the library. But essentially, I don't want a library of millions of images to sort through, because I just don't want that. I
right.
want a real clear way of sort of figuring out this is the collection of images that are available. They could be sorted by profile. It could be sorted by just general. You might include some sort of metadata, but I want to keep metadata to absolute minimum, because I don't want everybody to upload 10 images and then have to go through each individual one, title it, date it, tag it, geolocation it, put all your metadata, give it a description. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's the image that matters, and so I want to figure out the best way to present images while still having it not be a billion images to scroll through.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it'll be that difficult. I just need to figure out. We just need to like think through how does that happen naturally, and then sort of figure out a way to mimic that. Which again, is from people that you know. People that I know are the people that I buy images from.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to figure out ways to include that, and a lot of that comes again through sharing with people and getting those links and seeing profiles. Oh, here's the images. I love these images because I know this photographer. I'd love to trade this image that I took with this image that he's got. And so it's that personal sort of local relationship that I think is what makes especially landscape and sort of fine art photography much more successful than just putting junk on the internet and hoping somebody finds you.
So you know how all the different startups spend like half of their Kickstarter fund on a celebrity endorsement?
Really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
like seriously, like if you go on Twitter and you are following anybody who's following a celebrity that can retweet them, or you are following any celebrities, every once out of like 100 tweets, it'll be like, "I'm taking selfies on Selfiegram. Follow me," and then a link, and it'll be like the whole thing for the whole page and the sign up. So, who is your ideal celebrity to have as our sponsor or our
Chase Jarvis.
the what?
Chase Jarvis.
Who?
Chase Jarvis.
Chase Jarvis. Is he a photographer?
Yes, he is.
He doesn't count.
He does count. He's a celebrity.
He's not a real celebrity.
Oh my goodness. Blasphemy.
He's the photography celebrity maybe, but I'm talking like legit, man. I'm talking like Robert Downey Jr. I want Iron Man.
All right. You hold on. Let me look him up.
I just Googled. I looked at his face. He's got a nice face. He takes great photos. It's awesome. But he's not like I've never seen him in a movie or a TV show. Like I need something, man.
He has got. Oh, he doesn't even have 1 million followers. Never mind.
How about Chandler from Friends, whatever his name is? Yes.
Yes. Well.
Yeah. Or maybe David Schwimmer, Ross.
Yeah. Or Dwight.
Just get the entire cast of Friends.
Yeah, we should just get them to do like a special episode. That's that's so like not related.
Trading images. Yeah.
We have to see. The problem is that this isn't going to be a community thing where like anybody's going to be interested in it. Only photographers and artists are going to be interested in this, and so it has to be somebody who's a celebrity artist or a celebrity creative. Because otherwise, it's like, ooh, this is kind of cool, but I'm not a photographer, so I'm not going to be interested in this. Or I don't do art. I'm not a designer, so I'm not really interested in this. So I don't know. That's pointless. But Chase Jarvis, man, if we can get him to talk about it, we'll be famous.
We'll be set. Well, I mean, within the photography community, yeah, we'll probably be set.
I'd rather get like 200 people, photographers with eyeballs on it, than 100,000 people from friends who don't even know what a photograph is.
I feel like you're underestimating them just a little bit. I feel like most Friends viewers probably have an idea what a photo is. But I'm with you. They're not going to pay to swap photos with somebody because they're just going to have pictures of their kids or cake or food on Instagram. They're not going to be like, I really want a Chase Jarvis photo. He's totally
going to have mimes of the people from Friends. And they're going to want to trade those for my landscape images on actually would probably be all right.
Yeah, see? There you go. I'm right.
Yeah, no, that's not my target market, my friend. Photographers and designers, like matte painting artists, like the guys who did Lord of the Rings matte paintings.
Oh yeah,
I'd take a few of those guys.
I'm sure you would, but would they want pictures of people that are pretending to be friends? Like not friends, but like friends.
I have no idea. They might be
like that. Like
it was
song thing.
Yeah, it was a popular show. I think a lot more people watch that than maybe you think do. Like
I'm not fighting you on how many people watch Friends. A lot of people watch Friends.
Yeah, so maybe some of the people who did the matte paintings for Lord of the Rings did Friends, or watched Friends. So maybe they would be like, heck yes, I want a mime of that for my matte painting.
Based on
that's discretion. I'm not going to step in and say no. This is an unfair trade.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a Balrog that looks kind of like Joey right now, so that would be extremely useful as a reference piece.
Yes.
I think Balrogs are probably Italian. I mean, if they're anyway.
We just need to get the whole cast to follow us on Twitter, and then we can.
Step one.
Step one is that, and then we can go from there. Then we can launch our Kickstarter and get them to retweet our Kickstarter campaign. Maybe we can send them a mime of them as a incentive. A printed mime of them, and then they can follow us on Twitter. Well, we should get some of these YouTube guys that don't really do anything but copy each other,
Yeah.
but have millions and millions of followers. We should get a few of those.
Yeah, except now they'll know what we said about them. Like, I don't copy anybody.
I don't care.
Because that's the only people we invite.
What's that? Yeah, that's right.
All the people we invite, they're going to be like, wait a minute, didn't you say I copied whatever his face
Yes,
was?
we did. Oh, yeah, you're right. Whoops.
You take that back. That's what you
Yes, no,
should
not
say.
really.
No, I don't either. We're probably not going to talk to them, so that's fine.
No, they'll retweet because they want to get our followers. That's the way that's
Is that
going.
right?
Yep. They're in a power-hungry game. They get bored on car trips and follow people.
Was there anything else like specific you want to talk about, or we kind of shoot the general topic? There's probably enough material here to kind of edit into a nice little 20-minute podcast.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
So, all right,
Some
cool.
sort. I'm just going to scramble it and put it in reverse and then put it up there.
That sounds good. It'd be like a dubstep.
I can put a little beat to it.
Yeah, man. Do it.
Yeah, you had no idea.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to get going for now. It's getting kind of late. I got a little bit of work to do still.
11:30.
Yeah, we'll be talking for a couple hours at least.
That's crazy.
So should have some material. I will once the YouTube thing uploads or whatever. I will send you a link. It might take a while. I'll try to play around with it. Try to send it to you tonight, but I'll get it to you tomorrow at least.
Okay. I'll be curious to see how video works out. We may end up just doing audio.
Yeah, I mean, if as far as the recording, audio might be better.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where I'm talking and showing your face, so
yeah,
I don't know how that'll play out, but yeah. All right, cool. Well, I will catch you later. It was a good time talking. We need to have probably more fun with the next one. I think we had we were both too we've been fine just getting too tense, yeah, because it's the first one. So next time I'll drink a Monster ahead of time and do something.
Some bourbon, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, all right,
we should
man.
just intentionally have a very sarcastic or very, what's the word you used?
Ironic? But
No.
you can't entirely force irony. That just kind of has to happen organically. But yeah, I'll
irony.
We'll see. With Tiny Anvil, we're praying for some irony. Like that. There it is. All right. So, but I'll catch you later, man. We need to talk later about these projects we got going on. So I'll probably call you tomorrow to discuss that stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. Well, so long from me, listener base. Hopefully this will turn into a thing that we do regularly because it's kind of fun.
Cool. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
All right, man. Well, I'll catch you later. You have a good night.
Yep. Adios, amigos.